the first bus will be here in 5 minutes' time. But looking into the precious time that we have at hand with our guests, I thought we should start the session because faculty members have joined, and let the students come back and join with us. I take this opportunity to thank all the guests who are with us. When we start the roundtable, I'll introduce them one by one. Maybe I'll request Professor Rajkumar to give the inaugural address so that we can save some time for that.
Thank you, Tapan. Profound apologies to the distinguished guests who have accepted our invitation. I'm very reluctant to do Delhi events now for this reason only, because bringing people from Sonipat has become a more difficult task, particularly during festival times. And this Habitat today is experiencing two events hosted by university. We have an innovation conference happening in another room here, and some 100 students from Jindal are here. They were supposed to reach this venue at 10 a.m. and they started from campus at around 7:30, and they reached at 10:30. It was of course half an hour late, but it took 3 hours, which is quite unusual. And of course, this group of our students in the business school are yet to reach, so I'm very sorry and apologies for the distinguished CEOs and business leaders who are here. Welcome to the faculty members of the business school and others who are present here. What I will do is primarily to little bit buy time, because I would like, at least a few students arrive. So I'll take probably 5 to 7 minutes, conscious of the fact that our distinguished guests will have to leave sooner than later, to briefly introduce the university to our guests here. OP Jindal Global University is a relatively new university in India. It was founded in the year 2009. And since you're all going to be speaking about infrastructure management challenges and opportunities, I'll briefly share with you our own challenges of developing a 2 million square feet of built-up space of physical infrastructure in the form of a fully residential campus in Sonipat. Just to give you a brief overview of the founding vision of the university, many years ago, precisely in the year 2006, I had the privilege to meet Mr. Jindal and spent 1 year persuading him to do 3 things. One, to make a substantial financial commitment to do it, to build a university. Second, to do it in a not-for-profit manner. And third, to let me have the academic freedom, autonomy, and independence to build a world-class university in India. Before that, I had studied I'm a lawyer by training. I did my law degree from Delhi University, and after which I was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, did my master's in law in Oxford, and then went to Harvard, did another master's there, worked as a lawyer in New York, and taught in Tokyo and Hong Kong for many years before I moved to India in the year 2006 just for a conference initially, but then later, after Mr. Jindal agreed to do all of that by late 2007, he invited me to move to India in early 2008. So picture January 2008, and I'm here in India trying to figure out India myself. And the most important challenge that we faced as a university in the creation of it was ranging from land acquisition to getting the entire conversion of land use process, as of course going through the town and country planning department, but also many other regulatory processes of creating a university. One would think that the historically sort of evolved regulatory processes will be much more sympathetic to the idea of a university as opposed to a corporation, but that's not the case. Doing anything in India, and I'm sure these wonderful inspiring leaders who are present here will share their experiences of the challenges they have faced in their own organizations to create infrastructure and in that process create wealth for India. So that process of navigating systems across the Indian regulatory process was quite extraordinary. Not just the physical infrastructure, but also persuading the government of Haryana to pass the legislation to establish the first private university in the state of Haryana, and of course securing the permissions, the various regulatory approvals from different educational regulatory bodies, besides the process of even constructing a campus. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but as late as 27th January 2009, the government of Haryana passed legislation establishing O.P. Jindal Global University as the first private university in the state of Haryana. Soon after, I was appointed the first Vice Chancellor of the university, and then we began the process of construction of campus, recruitment of faculty, admission of students. So I told Tapan that we need to bring our friends to the campus. As much as Habitat Center is beautiful, but it is nothing like our campus, and I hope that all of you will visit our campus at some point of time in the near future. We began the process of construction of campus as late as February 2009. Of course, in the previous several months, we had the architectural design approved. A French architect by name Stéphane Pommier designed the campus, and of course, we began the process of construction. Believe it or not, in a span of less than 6 months, we built over 100,000 square feet of built-up space, one of the fastest construction projects ever undertaken. Larsen & Toubro was involved in doing the campus at a very, very short span of time, over 5,000 workers working 24/7, and almost an abundant supply of Jindal steel available to build the campus from scratch. It was a remarkable effort on the part of people who were involved in building the campus, and I think anybody who builds infrastructure in India can testify to the fact that there are so many imponderables, unpredictable situations that will emerge, which has to be responded to quite, and we have code has a schedule because the academic session works in a particular way, and we had to have everything up and running before September 2009, and we began construction in February. And so, in a very short span of time, as late as 30th September 2009, we began the first academic session of the first school of the university, with Jindal Global Law School as the first school. We had 4 classrooms. We had 1 office, which was the office of the Vice Chancellor, myself, and then 10 of our faculty members and 20 of our admin staff. And we had some 100 rooms for our students because we were building a fully residential university. It was a very defining moment for us on 30th September when we opened the doors of the university to the world at large, and we never looked back since then. In 2010, we started the Jindal Global Business School. In 2011, the Jindal School of International Affairs. In 2012, the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. In 2013, the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities. In 2016, the Jindal School of Journalism and Communication. In 2017, the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and Jindal School of Banking and Finance. Today, we have 4,500 students living on campus. We have over 350 full-time faculty members, over 350 administrative staff, and as I mentioned, over 2 million square feet of built-up space that constitutes the Jindal Global University community. There are few things that distinguishes our university from a typical Indian university. First, we are a global university, which essentially means that we recruit faculty members from around the world. Nearly 20% of our full-time faculty members are non-Indian nationals recruited from over 26 different countries in the world. These are faculty members who have taken a calling in their life and have relocated to Sonipat and are living on campus. Also, our commitment to building international relations has also led to building substantive international collaborations with over 250 universities spread across 56 different countries, in which we have implemented 10 different forms of collaborations, which include faculty exchanges, student exchanges, joint teaching, joint research, joint conferences, joint publications, dual degree programs, short-term study abroad programs, as well as joint executive education programs. The second aspect of our university is our strong commitment to public service. We strongly believe that a private university ought to be promoting public service. Over 70% of our students are studying with some form of scholarship or the other. In that sense, we have been deeply inspired by the extraordinary contribution of the Tata Group in particular, and also the vision of JRD, as well as the successive leaders of the Tata Group in relation to contributing in the form of philanthropy. And in some ways, what Mahatma Gandhi talked about, which is that wealth is part of a trusteeship, and that trusteeship notion of wealth is something which we are deeply committed to. And Mr. Jindal was very conscious of the fact that the university project is different from other corporate engagements that he and his group companies have. And so we've been constantly trying to create access for people who may not be able to afford to study at Jindal, and that's why these scholarships have been provided for. I also want to mention that the third critical aspect of our university's growth and evolution is our strong commitment to creating an intellectually vibrant environment through conferences, lectures, workshops, and seminars. And the fourth is what we do in terms of research. We have over 50 research centers and 3 research and capacity building institutes in our university. Our faculty-student ratio is 1:13, one of the best in India, and that has enabled our faculty members to pursue research and knowledge creation and publications without their teaching significantly impacting their ability to pursue research. And the last critical aspect of what we do as a university is our strong commitment to executive education and continuing education. We have been doing over 125 such programs under the aegis of the Jindal Institute of Leadership Development and Executive Education under the university, in which we have been training the Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Indian Revenue Service, Indian Audit and Accounts, Customs, Central Excise, the Indian Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the BSF, the CRPF, the CISF, the CBI, the IB, the RAW, and also the Comptroller and Auditor General's Office, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, the state government officials of Odisha, West Bengal, Telangana, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, as well as Haryana. These are short-term, non-degree programs that we undertake. In fact, as we speak, 30 officers from the state of West Bengal are at the University of Oxford, where we are hosting a program under the aegis of the Jindal Institute of Leadership Development and Executive Education. I want to end by saying that there are many things that have happened in the last 9 years. We are about to begin the celebration of our 10th anniversary. We'll be completing 10 years in 2019. But there are 3 things that make us achieve a very important distinction in this particular year. First is that our university, OP Jindal Global University, was declared as an autonomous institution by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, just a few months ago. Out of the 1,000 universities in India, only 52 universities have been given the status of an autonomous institution, of which only 2 are private universities. And besides the university which is known as the Petroleum University in Gandhinagar, OP Jindal Global University is the only second private university in the country, and we are also the youngest university among the 52 universities which have been given the status of an autonomous institution. This also coincided very well with the declaration by the National Accreditation and Assessment Council for us to be given the A-grade status as an institution. Only 25% of Indian universities receive the highest NAC A grade under the process of accreditation, and that is also an important milestone that we reached. The second important distinction that we achieved is in relation to our international rankings. One of the most respected global rankings of universities, known as QS rankings, this year declared us as one of the top 300 universities in the BRICS region. In the world, there are 27,000 universities. In the BRICS region, there are 9,000 universities. And among the 9,000 universities, OP Jindal Global University is ranked as one of the top 300 universities, and also in India, one of the top 10 private universities, and also the youngest university to have been acquired and achieved the distinction under this rankings, and that's a very important recognition. The third, something which I am very much personally very excited about it, is something which the Prime Minister deeply cares about. If you remember, in 2014, from the ramparts of Red Fort, he spoke about the importance of Swachhta and cleanliness, and successive years have also passed a number of public policy initiatives in promoting cleanliness across different sectors. Early this year, rather last year, he challenged each ministry of the Government of India to create an opportunity and a framework for promoting cleanliness. And so the Ministry of Human Resource Development was tasked with the idea of ranking higher education institutions in India on the basis of Swachhta and cleanliness. So they introduced what is known as the Swachhta ranking of higher education institutions. 3,000 plus applications across the country came from colleges and universities, and of which 300 institutions were selected, and a high-profile team from the Ministry of Human Resource Development, the Ministry of Environment and Forest, the University Grants Commission, and others visited all these 300 campuses across the country. And I'm very pleased to report, which I'm sure our faculty and students know, is that OP Jindal Global University was declared as the first and cleanest university in the country, and the Ministry of Human Resource Development awarded that to us. And we are very, very excited about that as well. So I want to end by saying that now that the students have come, I should stop speaking. I was trying to buy time for a bit. So I know you had a valiant drive from Sonipat to be here, but I can only assure you that these are extremely accomplished people who have taken their precious time from doing what they do to be here with us. I like to end whenever I talk to business students and business leaders about the extraordinary book which I constantly advise business individuals as well as business leaders to read. It's called What Money Can't Buy: The Moral Limits of Markets by Michael Sandel, who is a professor at Harvard University, a political philosopher, a moral philosopher, in this book, he beautifully argues about the importance and distinguishes the market economy from a market society. He believes in the idea of markets, but he strongly argues that there ought to be certain things which money can't buy, and there ought to be moral limits on markets. I would like to believe that these individuals who have taken time to be present with us are individuals who believe in the idea of the concept of what Michael Sandel talked about, which is that there are some things which money can't buy. The opportunity to interact with young minds like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, for taking us through the journey. Every time we hear the story of how JGBS was built, how JG was built, is very inspiring for all of us, including the students. I'm happy that all the students, almost all of them have arrived. And as Professor Rajkumar was talking about, the traffic was big and there's an accident. That's what I was told, that there's a small accident on the way. But good that all of you are here. So maybe there is a question that comes to our mind, why infrastructure management has been taken as a topic. A lot of people think infrastructure management is something which is taught mostly by the public policy schools or policymakers and not by the business schools. But before you guys walked into this office, this room, I was having a conversation with Mr. Vivek Gautam, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Tata Projects. And then he was talking about how Tata Projects is going to be a bigger company than TCS. Most of us feel that TCS is the largest one. But he was saying that TCS is an easy business where you just build a model and replicate it 1,000 times. But whereas when you look at infrastructure projects, that's what each project is very unique, and you have to design that multiple times. That's what he was talking about. So we are going to listen about that part. But you understand as a student of business and management that dysfunctionality of the market and information asymmetry are the two important impediments for the growth of any nation or for any sector. And one of the key interventions which can be done for this one is, of course, building up the infrastructures. If you can recall back, most of us who are in their late 40s and 50s can recall back their childhood days, the kind of roads that we had, the kind of buses we had, the kind of trains we had. And if you compare that with the current generation opportunities which are there, they are far, far ahead. While I was planning about the speakers for this roundtable, so that we can bring in the issue of infrastructure management, which is a very highly growth-oriented sector in India. And of course, being a business school, we always look at opportunities where we can train our students, give them the skills so that they can cater to this sector there. I thought, why not to have both sides of the story? One side of the story where we have got the CEOs, those who are into infrastructure management companies, and the other side are the people in the government who are making those decisions, right? So we have with us Mr. Anshuman Sharma, who is presently working as a Director Project Planning with Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited. He belongs to 1984 Civil Service batch, has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and master's in structures from University of Roorkee, which is now called IIT Roorkee. He's a bridge design and execution specialist with 30 years experience in planning and the execution of railway construction projects. He was in charge for maintenance of civil engineering assets and coordination of various divisional activities of Sikandrabad and Guntakal divisions of Indian Railways for 7 years. He has published various technical papers on bridge construction techniques. He has attended various national and international seminars, including International Convention on Optimizing the Wheel Rail System at Salzburg, Austria, and China Rail World Summit at Beijing. He was actively associated with construction of J&K Rail Link project, which involved construction of 11-kilometer long tunnel across Pir Panjal range. He had worked as supervisory board member for various DMRC projects executed by IRCON. He received Railway Minister's Award in 1995 for completing the execution of 100-kilometer long construction project, which included 2 important bridges of each more than 700 meters length in a record time of 8 months. So it's not about the difficulty of the task, but the time also that matters. Currently, he is part of Dedicated Freight Corridor, so we'll first listen about the other side of the story, what arguments he has got about India's current state of infrastructure management. And once we complete that exercise, I'll invite the rest of the speakers to talk their part of the story. Let's welcome Mr. Ansuman Sharma, please.
Jindal Global Business School, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today's topic for discussion is infrastructure management, challenges and opportunities. The progress of a country depends on the infrastructure, how much infrastructure that particular country is having. It also includes the management of these infrastructures. Post-independence, the government of India has created number of public sector undertakings, because at that time in private sector a number of companies were not there to take up these infrastructure works, and then they built a lot of dams, irrigation works, which are giving fruitful results today. Subsequent to that, the need was felt that as Dr. Panda has also, earlier speakers have also mentioned, that the road sector in our country was not in that good shape. In your, I think, childhood days, maybe 15-20 years back itself, we have not seen that type of roads which are today. So, considering the fact that transportation is the main activity and it is required for the growth of the country, the Government of India decided to widen, to develop, to make more roads, mainly along the Golden Quadrilateral and its diagonals, which carries maximum traffic as far as road is concerned. And after that, this widening has taken place. Number of projects were taken up. Some of the projects were taken up through equity, means government funding, and then innovative scheme of PPP, you might have heard, was developed, and a number of projects were taken up under PPP. The new organization, NHAI, National Highway Authority of India, was created for this. You must be coming from Sonipat, you must be seeing that the further widening is going on that route. Already I think it is around 14 lane or something like that, and some 4 lanes more are added. And as the minister has told some time back that in our country on these routes, every 4 to 5 years, one more lane is to be added. So that is the requirement of the infrastructure in our country. Similarly, for Indian Railways, because my whole service was in Indian Railways, so I have more experience of the projects as well as the planning of Indian Railways. In next 5 years, they have programmed the projects of around 8.5 lakhs crores for infrastructure in Indian Railways itself. It is apart from the NHAI and all other organizations. You may be experiencing, if you are traveling by train, that some of the trains, mainly on some of the routes, they get delayed. So, as in the road sector, similarly in the railway sector also, this Golden Quadrilateral and its diagonal, these are basically the cities connecting Delhi to Mumbai, Delhi to Calcutta, then Mumbai to Chennai, and these are the 4 Golden Quadrilateral arms, and then 2 diagonals are Delhi to Chennai as well as Mumbai to Calcutta. So in our country, these are the 6 routes which, whether it is road sector or railway sector, they carries the maximum traffic. In Indian Railways, out of total 63,000 route kilometers, this is around 15% only. Maybe around 9,000 to 10,000 route kilometers, but it carries around 50% of Indian Railways traffic. These sections are totally saturated to the extent of around 150%. So considering this, that these sectors require some improvement, some additional lines, government decided somewhere in 2006 and 7 that dedicated freight corridors should be constructed along these routes, so that the goods traffic, which is the backbone for the industrial development, can move fast, as well as at the same time our existing tracks, existing lines, they will get released from the goods train because they will be shifting to these new lines, and the passenger traffic, passenger trains speed can also be increased. So considering this, in the first stage from Delhi to Mumbai and from Ludhiana to Calcutta, these two corridors were sanctioned, and the total cost of these two projects is around 81,000 crores. The Delhi to Mumbai is funded by JICA, and the eastern corridor, which comes from Ludhiana to Calcutta, is funded by World Bank. So the works on these two projects are in progress. Similarly, considering that new technology should also come in our country, our maximum train speed is around 160 kmph only. That is also only one or two trains are there. In general, the Rajdhanis, they run only at around 130 kmph. So we were not having high speed, as you might have seen in other countries, China, Japan, France, Europe, a number of countries. The trains runs at a maximum speed of around 500 kmph, and with an generally average speed of around 300 kmph. So having such a large network, fourth large network in the world, we were not having this high speed corridor. So government decided that we should have that technology so that we can export also that technology, because the cost of production in our country is much less as compared to other countries. So considering all these aspects, Government of India has sanctioned this, you might have heard, Mumbai to Ahmedabad high-speed rail corridor around 530 kilometers with a cost of around 1 lakh crores. This project is also funded by JICA. So the land acquisition for this project is in progress, and this is targeted, I think, in around 2020. This project will be completed. Now coming back to the main topic, it is in our country, it is simple to build an infrastructure, roads, railways, dam, irrigation project, or any other project. But then the most challenging part as on date today, I feel, is how we manage these infrastructures. So it is really a challenge, whether it is funding or it is the system, how to manage, how to maintain, how to do the management of these infrastructures. So there are some of the factors which have to be considered for seeing that how the best management of these infrastructure projects can be done. These are financial aspects, how the finance should come, how the expenditure is to be done, because every project, infrastructure project, naturally, if somebody is in some business, it has to be financially viable unless it is a government project. We have to consider the regulations also, government regulations, what are the, some stipulations are there, especially if the project pertains to public services. Aging infrastructure, naturally, while the time passes, it requires a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairs. So those aspects have to be considered for the maintenance and for the management. Similarly, the network effect. You see, individually, any particular, any infrastructure project will have a lot of components in that. For example, in roads itself, there may be a bridge, then there may be road, then there may be signals, telecommunications. So individually, if we say that each is working, is okay, but then if one of them is not working, then the system will not work. So we have to see that as a network, the complete infrastructure project works, and that is the requirement for the management. So I hope, as management experts in your future careers, there is a lot of scope, and this is the main topic for the country today. How do we maintain our infrastructures? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarma, for opening up the conversation. We understand that some planets have thought about farm to the fork theory. so that the product can be manufactured at the farm and produced at the farm end, and it should reach to your table. But for doing that, you need a dedicated freight corridor. The explanations that he was talking about, dedicated freight corridor in terms of railways or the roads are there to remove the bottlenecks. And many times you watch television, you find how much of tomatoes, eggs, and vegetables are being spoiled because we have not been able to create an ecosystem of transportation, warehousing, and logistics management. Many of my students, older students, have started their startups with logistics management. Not only you look for an opportunity for a job in this sector, but you also can think about how you can become an aggregator and can start a logistics business. As you was talking about networking exercises in that case. Thank you, sir, for your views. I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Vivek Gautam. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Strategic Business Group Core Infra of Tata Projects. Mr. Gautam has been with Tata Projects for more than 25 years, quite a long-term period of time. He has more than 30 years experience in the infrastructure business. Mr. Gautam is overseeing Tata Projects, popularly known as TPL, two largest businesses, transportation and transmission and distribution, which has planned a combined revenue of more than 5,500 crores in the fiscal year 2018 and 19. Before being elevated to the position of Chief Operating Officer, he was a business unit head of transmission and distribution from 2013 to 17, and earlier the head operations of transmission and distribution business. Under his leadership, the T&D business revenues and profitability grew threefold in just 4 years. That's the story. T&D is now the leader in the domestic market, as well as having the highest market capitalization in the transmission line business in India. He has been instrumental in successfully expanding the transmission and distribution business in new areas of substations and in distributions. Since taking over the charge as the Chief Operating Officer, the revenues of the transportation division have gone up threefold in a period of 1 year only. The execution of India's most ambitious and prestigious railway project since independence, the dedicated freight corridor, is being carried out under his supervision. Mr. Gautam is an IPMA Level D certificate project management professional. He holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the prestigious GB Pant University, Pantnagar. Let's welcome Mr. Vivek Gautam, please.
Distinguished guests on the dais and my friends here. I'm very so happy to see such big group of young professionals who are raring to go. And the topic is so apt that we are talking about infrastructure project and then involvement of the management candidates in that. See, as sir rightly mentioned, Mr. Sharma mentioned about the DFCCIL project. These are the needs which have come over the period. I belong to Tata Group, which is more than 150-year-old, and working towards the development of infrastructure has been the core directing principle towards the complete growth of the group. See, at one point of time, in India, we didn't make even clothes to wear. That time, Swadeshi Mills used to be there in Nagpur, which used to make clothes, and it was a very successful business. And those were the days when Jamshedji Tata, he went to all the places, nooks and corners of the world, got the best of the experts to bring them to India and identify a location and set up a steel plant. Because there's the basic formula, this was very clear that without steel, you can't have a infrastructure growth, industrial growth in the country. Without industrial growth, nothing happens. There is a saying that we used to make a sui, in the country. Today we are making aeroplanes today. So this is a long journey, and our group has also played a major role in that. Now, coming back to the requirements of infrastructure and the type of role which youngsters have to play in that. See, at one point of time, we only used to talk about food, green revolution, big thing, because I come from Pantnagar. Green revolution itself was a big thing at that time in the 60s. And then we became food sufficient in the food part of it. And the corresponding paraphernalia ecosystem developed. Then we became the largest producer of milk over the period. Despite such huge population, we are so nicely organized and so well managed. Because basically the people of this country, they have this capability and determination to grow despite all the limitations that we have. We compare Indian growth with Chinese growth today. Many times we talk about China has created, complete cities in their country and all that. They have gone very, very far. But see, the difference is this is all government-driven. Chinese growth is all government-driven. Indian growth is all people-driven. This is driven by the youths, like I see in front of me. And I see such enormous possibilities. As far as the project management is concerned and infra projects is concerned, truly speaking, these are the youngsters who are driving these projects at a breakneck speed. I'll just give you the latest example of the projects which we are doing with Mr. Sharma, where we have, in fact, well, first let us give a big round of applause for being a fantastic organizer of this infrastructure project, DFCCL that I'm talking about. We are doing around 45% of that. And recently, we achieved a progress in the worst working season despite heavy rains, which is almost 90% of the machine's capacity. I'm talking about track linking of 40 kilometers in 26 working days. And this, this could happen because, this entire group has become a very good combination of excellent experience, like we have in the form of Mr. Sharma and the advice which we get morning and afternoon, and the youngsters who are actually pushing it. I am harping on this particular issue because, see, these are, these are the years when you have dreams. You dream of doing something. You have the capability. You have years on your side. You have the energy, and you have the determination, and you have everything is open. There is nothing like a full stop. You do not know what is fear. You do not know what is, what a challenge can be, how threatening it can be. You are those youngsters who can walk in a minefield knowing unmindful that there is a minefield there and achieve anything possible, whatever is possible below the sky. One of such youngsters I have with me here, Sumit, can you stand up? He's not so young now. He's around 35 years old. But few years back, he was like, the youngster that I see sitting here. So much full of potential. See, Kargil was not won by brigadiers and generals. They were just sitting and telling that, casualties will be 1 of Pakistanis, 10 Indians. It was won by Thapas, Vijayan Thapas, and all these youngsters, who climbed there and who killed the enemy and who won the Kargil for us. You are those guys, who can do all this in the infrastructure sector. The possibilities are enormous. See, the old generations have been doing the things in a very traditional way. And they never thought in beyond roti, kapda or makan. These are the movies we used to make. The guys who are sitting here on this side, this will remind them of the time when the movie was released. Today, can we think of the life without Wi-Fi? You feel like fish out of water. And this gives you the communication revolution, which is the major infra revolution of the recent times, has made the cost of communication almost zero. Yesterday we were in a conference with the Sterlite. They are talking about, they are going big way developing PPP projects in Brazil now. They are doing in India also. Now solar and renewable energy is going in a big way. They are going to around a tera, megawatt, and which is something like, which was never thought. It is 4 times than the initial plans over the next 4 years. The operational cost for this is almost going to be zero. So practically, maybe 10 years from now, like telecom today, energy also will be almost available for free. And the way transportation is becoming, the transportation sector is developing, this has also become a low cost. When I got my first job, my salary was 1960 rupees, and I used to work in a place called Neyveli. So from Neyveli to Delhi, if you had to travel, the flight ticket was almost same like it is today. So 2 months I had to work hard for one-way ticket. And today, there is a huge volume, there is a growth, and this has come to the extent that where we can afford to, travel almost. We have many colleagues who travel back home to Chennai every week. So these are something, which are totally new. This is what has happened. These are the avenues, there are much more of them which are going to open up. We are just discussing that, the way the cars, our green tribunal, because of the pollution and all that, there is a restriction. Petrol car is over after 15 years, and diesel car you can't drive after 10 years. You have a revolution like Ola cabs and Uber cabs. People will forget buying the cars when they are getting a chauffeur-driven car for such a cheaper, price. And just see this, where was this? This was not available. This concept was not there till some time back. You had these typical yellow and black cars and all, which were almost throwing black smoke everywhere. And at a place like ITO, you couldn't keep your eyes open. Today, the things have changed. The development chances and the growth in the infrastructure is enormous. And a new thinking is something which is required. You guys have it, but you have to get aligned with the industry. And my sincere advice, this is the only advice which I give to all the guys we have in the family of Senior Generation and my own, in my company, please concentrate first 10 years of your life. Do not think about the money that you are earning. Do not think even about savings. You cannot save anything in 10 years. When, if you acquire some knowledge and good experience and good, this is the actual gain, whatever you can't save in 10 years, you will save in 2 years, when you are at the peak. So please concentrate, go into the depths of the issues, concentrate on learning, concentrate on sharing. The more you share, the more you learn. Do not keep it to yourself. I have seen some of the best talents not coming up very well in life because they thought that if they share, their value will be, dispersed, and, they always kept the booty closed. And this became very detrimental for their own growth. The more you share, the more it grows. Think of the opportunities, look with the industry, get aligned with the industry. It's very important to see that, you are industry ready when you come out of the college. So that you should know what is happening, what is going around, which are the areas that interest you, where you would like to contribute. Do not go searching for a job just for the heck of it. Go here for a job which you like to do. Like I am in this profession because this is what I like to do. Other than this, maybe I would have gone for armed forces. But after that, this is something which really interested me. Because we create. Today, the project which we are creating, I think generations will be there to tell, like people talk about Mr. Sridharan. I think like that will remember Mr. Sharma's contribution in DFCL projects. And what a happy person it makes you as a human being, as a professional, that you leave such a permanent mark which you can see from the satellites and from the moon. So with these words, let's just leave a message for all the youngsters here that the opportunities are enormous, the growth potential is enormous. You are born in a country where all these things are happening, what used to happen in the late 60s in America. And you have all the possibilities of doing it here. And I must compliment you. I hear the story about your institution. Really, there's something which has come up, which in itself is such a big project, which has been delivered so nicely. And I can see the sense of pride when I hear about the creation of the institute, and that must make you all so proud. And I'm sure that you have a very good future ahead. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inspirational words. In fact, when Professor Rajkumar talks about the university and its growth, and then the guests, those who visit us, and they reassure us that we have achieved something in the process, that makes us and motivates us to do more and more in the process. Now I'll move on, and I'll introduce a successful Indian story of building an infrastructure company. So you must be thinking about when you start working on an infrastructure company, then you must be looking at somebody who is purely focused on business and the top line or the bottom line part of it. But here is somebody who is a combination of spirituality, social sacrifices and social commitment, and business, all three together. I'll request all of you to welcome Mr. Ajay Kumar Gupta, who is present here. Mr. Gupta will talk about JCL Infra, one of the upcoming large companies. Most of the times when you go on the highways or you see the flyover, you understand those pieces which are being made there and they're fixed together. One of the large companies in India which does JCL Infra there. Mr. Gupta is BE Civil from IIT Roorkee in 1976. Instead of taking up a job, he started his own enterprise. On the other side, he's also coordinator of World Hindu Economic Forum. And he's also the Vice President of Archery Association of India. So he's also committed to sports in India. Many of you must be watching Asian Games going on this period of time. And he has also got a Gurukul Archery Academy and studied archery for the boys and girls studying in the Gurukul sector there. He's a part of Anna movement. He has got a memorial trust also. More than that part, on the bridge construction business and accessories business, he's a pioneer in India. I'll request Mr. Gupta to come and take us through the journey of an entrepreneur and how you build this vast empire as a business. Mr. Gupta, please.
Mr. Rajkumar, who is a head of Pioneer Institution in many fields. And what he told me, his academic qualifications and everything, I feel he is one of the most learned person amongst us. Guests on the dais and distinguished personalities, my brothers, sisters, and brilliant students. I am not as good a speaker as Mr. Vivek is. But anyway, I had the opportunity of having personal acquaintances with the legendary figure in whose memory this institution was set up, and you are part of that. I tell you a small story of his management. One of his friends chose to contest from my district, that is Meerut, for the Lok Sabha election. That gentleman, 98, approached Mr. Jindal Saab, to help him to win the election from Meerut, because that was not his constituency. Name of that person was Avtar Singh Badhana, who used to fight and still belongs to Faridabad, but came to Meerut on a Congress ticket, and Congress not a winning party in Meerut, never. He approached Jindal Saab. Jindal Saab must have made his calculations, what to do, how to do, and without the vote to which community I belong, that is Vaishya, nobody can win the election. When he contacted many people in the Vaishya community, then he found that nobody was willing to support Congress. Then what to do? Then he wanted to approach my brother, who is no more now, but was a big name, social name in Meerut, Mr. Subhash Gupta, late Sri Subhash Gupta. Then somebody might have told him that he is a friend of Shri Banarsi Das ji, who was ex-Chief Minister of Haryana. Then he told him, "Ki, sir, if you tell Subhash ji, then he might do something for us." And now Jindal Sahab managed Banarsi Das ji managed Subhash ji, and Subhash ji fluctuated 25,000 votes, which made Avtar Singh Badhana first time a Congress to win the election from Meerut. So that is a management skill. Basically, infrastructure is nothing but a sign of development of a country. It has many fields: transport, energy, health, education, sanitation, sewerage, waste disposal, anything. And besides the development, it brings the prosperity to the people as well. Unfortunately, you, the young students, also must be dreaming a very good life. But India having a poor infrastructure does not attract you. You aim, you plan to settle yourself somewhere where the luxurious life, many amenities like Bangalore, Bombay, or maybe US, maybe Japan attracts you. Why there is a drain of talent from this country? Infrastructure. Today, India has a poor infrastructure. But our country was not like that. If you study history, 2 AD, when it was the golden era, Vikramaditya rule was here, our country used to contribute 35 to 40% GDP of the world. In the Mughal era, it was 25%. and today it is barely 1%. From where to where we have slided. We have the potential. We are the sons of the same soil, of the same ancestors. If they had done that time, why can't we do right now? We can. But we have to change many things in this country. Everything can be divided into two things. One is hardware and one is software. Building a structure, building good buildings, making good roads, making good bridges, making energy, making sanitation system, making the vast airports, highways, everything is very easy to make. But Sharma ji rightly told, very difficult to maintain. Here comes the management. Unfortunately or fortunately, in this country, very weak in management. What is management? You are the students. I ask a very simple question. What is the difference between education and learning? Can anybody of you can tell? What is the difference between education and knowledge? Very simple question. Education is nothing but information. And when then information is assimilated in your character, in your day-to-day life, it becomes knowledge. Today we have informations. Information has no value. Open the Google right now. Mr. Vivek had told it's the age of computer, internet, Wi-Fi, and any information you can get. But to make a character building, to assimilate in your character, is the knowledge. So today it is not necessary we get the education. Today it is necessary that we get the knowledge. And that is the weakest part of our country. And without that, we cannot develop. That is very important. Another very important thing of the management is learn to give, not to take. A good manager is one whose philosophy is live and let lives. In our Shastras, it has been said, Devan bhavyatanin, te deva bhavyantu veh, evam prasparam bhavyante, shrem paramavapsyat. Meaning thereby, you do good for others, then they will do good for you. And both helping each other, doing good for each other, both will achieve the goal. Both will develop. That is the basic philosophy of the management. Even in your schools or in your institutions or in your organizations, a person who is a helping figure, he is a cooperative figure, is the best manager. Because the best manager is one who is the best leader. And who is the best leader? One who teaches you by character, not by words. Language of the character, language of the body is more important than the language of the mouth. That is very important. And unfortunately, our country has lost this quality in the present era. Many of the people have no value of their words. This is unfortunate. Presently, the biggest problem of the development or requirement of the development are three: corruption-free society, cleanliness, and law and order. If a country is very dirty, if your place is very dirty, cannot be called developed. And why we are not being developed? Because we are corrupt. You just now, all you people are must be expert in computer. I am not, unfortunately. There are 2 indexes or many indexes nowadays available in the Google or whatever it is called. One is the index of development, and one is the index of corruption. The country who is less in corruption is higher in development index. And one is who is higher in development index is the minimal corruption in that country. You can verify it. So if you have to manage, you have to create infrastructure, you have to develop infrastructure, then only and only thing can be possible, remove the corruption from this country. And being the management, you have to manage this country by as your own house, own area, your own subject, then you can do something. When I talk to the road transport management, then you will feel many problems. Good roads, good highways have been built in this country during last 20 years. But what is happening? Unfortunately, we have a mixed system of traffic. We have an animal-driven vehicle running there, we have a tractor running there, we have a car running there, we have a cycle running there, and we have motorbikes running there, we have even the best of the car in the world, Mercedes running over there, Rolls-Royce running there, and trucks running there. But what is happening? One is coming from this side, one is going from other side and crossing, and when you will be hit, you do not know yourself. Is this the management? Roads are there, infrastructure there, but how poor is the management? We see ourselves daily. So many encroachments. I have seen, I was Vice President of Indian Road Congress, and we used to deliberate about the road safety and everything. And it is an example of this country when to bypass a traffic, a bypass was constructed. And then that bypass was also encroached and another bypass was constructed. This is the condition. We cannot manage, then what will happen? How many bypasses you will make? Impossible. You have to manage the things by yourself. You must have seen, we have good footpaths for pedestrians, but many sellers, hawkers, they are selling their goods. You can't move on that. Even these things we can't manage, then what will happen? This is the management problem. Our biggest challenge is ethics and character. We have lost the values in this country. For small things, we tell lies. We know we can't finish the meeting before 15 minutes, but you will tell your boss, sir, but I am coming in 5 minutes only. 5 minutes maa raha hu bas. These are small things. Our biggest teacher in the world of yoga have been Rishi Patanjali. He has given us Tang Yoga, Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, and 5 Yam, Ahimsa, Satya, Asti, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. For Satya, he has told one sutra, Satya Pratisthayam Kriya Phalashatvam. If you are established in truth, then whatever you will speak will come true. If this logi is true, then analogy will also be true. If you are not established in truth, then whatever you will speak will be against that. And I have seen myself, the Westerners, Europe, they normally do not speak lie. If they don't like anything, they will tell on your face, oh, sorry, I don't like. That is why they are so developed, because what they say, that comes true. That's the basic philosophy of a character. We have to adopt that as a management student. Besides, these are the software problem of a human being, besides the hardware problem. Our country is the biggest challenge, I feel, is the bureaucracy. We have an administrative system. We don't have the management system. What is the difference between administration and management? I ask a very simple question. What is that? Anybody can tell? Please.
Administrator focuses on implementing the policies made by the management, and management plan how things will go in the future.
Good. I slightly explain in a different manner. Administration we do on others. When I ask you to do something and I feel I am not your part, then I will administer you. In your family, you do administration or management? Management. So, to our own people, you do management. But for slaves, because we were slaves, the English people did administration on us. But are we still slaves? No. We are free India. All people are our own people. We do not need administration. We need now management. But our whole bureaucratic system has been evolved around administration. That has to go. And the biggest opportunity, I tell you, for you management students of this prime institution is to convert this bureaucratic system, administrative system, to a management system. Will you? Please try. There are many other things to be said, but I think I finish here itself. Thank you very much.